So with their 38-17 victory over Northwestern, USC has now matched their win total from 2024. And they didn't need to win a bowl game to get there. They're 7-2. They got the day off. They get to enjoy some college football on a Saturday while everybody else is beating each other up, including Oregon at Iowa, USC's next two opponents. I've got MVP3 Marvin Powell III. He is back. We're going to discuss USC's big game, their win on Friday night, plus a couple other things. So stick around. Welcome to Locked On USC.
You are Locked On USC, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Colkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC part of the Locked On Network your first listen every day. Oh, and by the way, Locked On USC and the Locked On Network is the #1 sports podcast network in the country. Whether you're watching this show on YouTube, whether you want to just download this podcast to your platform, you pick it. You can listen to it, and this show's always going to be free, and the show is always going to appreciate your support. Marvin, welcome back. I think you know who Jim Valvano is, former head coach of the North Carolina State Wolfpack, led him to a national championship, seemingly out of nowhere. The first thing that popped into my head when I watched Jaden Mayaba throw that interception and then save the day, forcing the fumble, getting the ball back, was Jim Valvano used to tell his team, don't give up. Don't ever give up. And I think that play personified exactly that. USC, the game was tied at 14, and it looked like all of a sudden Northwestern was going to be taking a 7-point lead. A few plays later, USC has that 7-point lead because of what Jaden did. Not getting down on himself and sticking with the play. That's the one thing on offense that stood out the most to me. What stood out the most to you with the offense on a bigger scale? What did you notice?
One of the things that I've talked about on this show is how we have different caliber athletes than most of the teams that we play. And when you look at, for example, the touchdown pass, that moon ball that Jaden threw to Jacoby in the corner of the end zone, where he just basically jumped up and outmanned the guy to catch. To catch that ball. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. When you see Mekhi Lemon just do the freaky things he was doing, just breaking tackles, and you see Caleb Miller, King Miller just breaking out through the hole and just accelerating and making plays. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. So, that's what really stood out to me is that our big time athletes, the guys who I think are better than the opposition, they stood out. They made plays. They let you know why they were considered to be top recruits. Now, in King's case, he's a walk-on. But again, USC is in last week I was talking about, why we're putting so many walk-ons. The bottom line is this: the people we put on the field are good. They're good. They're good. And I think right now we have to really give some of these coaches some credit. So we have, rightfully so. We've been talking about, is this going to be the year? Are we going to see a difference? Where is our program at? Are we going to win games on the road? Can we win the big games? And we've had some adversity, but we've also responded to adversity, So I'm happy to see that on offense, our guys, are back on it. We haven't skipped. We didn't skip a beat in this game. We came out the way we needed to, I think, for the most part. We put points on the board. We separated in the second half. And again, our athletes, our bigger, stronger, faster, freakier athletes stood out. And that's what they needed to do against a team like Northwestern.
What did you think of that first offensive drive? It was 16 plays over 7 minutes. I mean, to me, that kind of reminded me a little bit of a Mike Riley offense. There was a time when Mike Riley was the offensive coordinator at USC, and
he was mine.
Yeah, he earned the nickname 9-Minute Mike. Mm-hmm. I think USC was down by 10 points one game, and the drive was picking up yards, but it was taking too much time off the clock.
Right.
But to me, that was impressive. It was it seemed like there was more passing than running in that series, but they were moving the ball. I thought it was an impressive drive.
We were in control. We were in control. We did what we wanted to do. Jaden was completing passes, and Lincoln did come out there, I thought, with more of a passing mindset on some of those drives. But in the end, it was balanced. In the end, the run game was effective. In the end, the run game is what we were able to continue to do and play action off of that. And we saw our tight ends get a little love this week, because I felt like in the last couple of weeks we've missed them a little bit, but we saw these guys step up opening drive throughout the entire game. So now it was, listen, I give a lot of credit to Lincoln. I'm somebody who I like Lincoln. I like the hire. I want him to be our coach, and I want him to show me something. And he's showing me something this year. He's showing me a commitment to the run game. He's showing me that he can get our team ready, for a game. He's showing me that he can take advantage of a bye week. He's showing me that this is what we hired and what we wanted. So I'm in a good space right now. We have a lot of football left in these last couple games, but I was happy to see offensively our guys just making plays and our offense clicking, and just see us moving forward, man. It was good to see us control another team, control that clock.
Yeah, and I like the way that Coach Riley kept the offense balanced, and it was his definition of balance. I know some people hear what they want to hear. They have this this definition of what a balanced offense is in their mind, equal parts run, equal parts pass. Coach Riley literally said this, I think it was last week, and I talked about it on this show, that he's going to do whatever's working to keep the other team off balance.
Right.
In other words, if the pass is moving the ball, pass the ball. If the run's moving the ball, run the ball. So to me, it's not, and to Coach Riley as well, it's not how many times did you run versus pass, but are you taking what the defense is giving you? And I think that's what he did really, really well against Northwestern's defense. It's like, hey, go ahead and pass the ball. He was like, all right, we will. And check out who we got on the outside and look what they're going to do to you.
Yeah. Listen, it's been a few games since we really seen both our receivers, our tight ends really all get into the mix and all flowing like that. So it was great to see the offense moving the way it was. That's how it should look. That's kind of how we envision it. Jacoby looked great out there. Those tight ends look great out there. Kyle Lemon is, one of the leaders for the Blitnikoff for a reason. And I tell you what, again, the redshirt freshman walk-on tailback stepped up. And how about Zach Henson? How about the offensive line coach? How about, I'm seeing our center lay out on the turf. He's hurt. Noah's Lonnie's nicked up. I mean, this guy just shuffling guys in, shuffling guys out. People really aren't paying attention to that. That's for other programs, that would be a game changer in the wrong direction. So just really happy with what that guy's doing and how he's leading our team. Because last week I did talk about are these guys getting coached up, and after a game like this, we have to give them their credit, and I'm happy to do so. Lincoln and his offensive staff did a great job, I thought, overall.
Absolutely. I think really besides the Mayave interception, there was really only one, and I'm using the word egregious very loosely, finger quotes, was one of USC's offensive linemen downfield too far on that touchdown. I'm not sure how that happened. The reason I think he got caught, if you go back and you watch the replay, he saw himself like 5 to 8 yards downfield engaged with a linebacker on a pass play. But then he tried to run back and get back onside, so to speak. And the rep's like, I'm right here, man.
Yeah. That was horrible. I hated to see that because that was such a big play for us. And you're wondering how, because stuff like that could be a momentum killer. That could be a momentum killer. And for us, it wasn't. It wasn't at all. I mean, those guys were clicking and ready to go. But it was an unfortunate call. You hate it for the big guy. He's out there just playing hard. He's just playing hard. You should have a sense of awareness as to where you are, and they practice and they go, they draw up that play on the board. Lincoln talks to him about, what to do, what not to do. But in the midst of the play, in the midst of that fight, I mean, you just fighting, man. You just trying to get your man blocked and do your job. And next, you look up and you're, 10 yards down the field. It happens. That happens. That happens, man. So I hate it for the kid, but you definitely have to be more aware in those situations.
Yeah, it's understandable. Like I said, you're engaged. You're trying to out-physical the dude right in front of you, win that one-on-one. And like you said, before you know it, it's like, oh, how did I get over here?
Right.
So it happens. And unfortunately, it didn't come back to bite USC in the butt.
No.
Let me ask you this question. And it's not really a question. It's more of a rhetorical statement for me. I think USC needs help at running back. And here's the reason why. Either Brian Jackson is still hurt, dealing with that turf toe, which I think he is, or he's not seeing the holes the same way that King Miller does. I don't know if King's going to be able to survive the rest of the season without getting some help back there. Does that mean when Jordan comes back? I don't know. I did see him walking around after the game. He was wasn't wearing a walking boot or anything. I don't know how soon he'll be back, if he will be, but I think this could be something that we have to watch a little bit more closely, because at the end of the game, King had to leave. It looked like his shoulder got driven into the field a little bit.
Yeah, I saw that. It looked like he took a stinger there. Listen, I'm thinking about Brian Jackson as well. People forget, coming into the season, at the end of last season, Brian Jackson was considered to be one of the better running backs coming back in the Big Ten. He's one of the bigger names, especially after that bowl game against A&M. And he was legit. This isn't fool's gold. The kid can play. So watching him play yesterday, he looked different, and I would definitely attribute that to an injury. He didn't look like he did last year. He didn't look like he did earlier this year. I've seen him look even more explosive than that. So I'm assuming that injury is still bothering him. Turf toe is horrible, man. It's one of those things that stays with you. It's tough healing process, and even though they shoot you up and numb you out, I mean it still has impact. So. Yeah, and then you see King Miller get banged up. When he was holding his shoulder, I was like, oh no, what are we going to do? Again, we forget we're down to our third back at this point. You know what I mean? And he's balling. So there you go. And there you go. And we're deep in our depth chart. So again, kudos to Lincoln Riley. Again, last week, I was talking about, what are our guys doing? Are they coaching? Are they developing the guys? They are, and we see it. King's been playing great, man. But you're right, Mark. We're going to need somebody else to have that same kind of effect, because when we went from Waymo to Eli, there's a difference, but not much. Those guys are both really good. And then we got lucky, King obviously is a really good player, so he's making plays. But at some point, when you guys keep getting hurt, you're going to see it's going to show up at some point. You know what I mean? That's what you're saying. So far, we haven't really seen the negative impact of that position being hurt so much. But if he gets hurt, now we're talking about a serious drop-off. And the biggest thing that we're worried about isn't running the ball. It's not so much, do we have a guy who can run the ball? It's going to be in blitz pickup. Because for a running back, fans don't realize this. It doesn't matter if you're O.J. Simpson or Reggie Bush or whoever. If you can't pick up the blitz, you will never play, especially in a modern offense. Yeah. You'll never play. So, that's what it comes down to, Mark. Do we have backs that can pick up this blitz that Iowa's going to bring, Oregon's going to bring, and them boys across town going to bring?
Yeah. Well, here's what's interesting. Maybe there's somebody on the roster that they can do a jersey switch with. I thought USC found their emergency quarterback when Sam Johnson, turns out it was Sam Heward, was running a fake punt. Let me ask you this question. I like creativity. I really do. Your opinion, because I made my opinion known on my instant reaction show. Should USC need to rely on a fake punt at home in the first half of a game to keep the drive alive?
I didn't like it.
I'm not knocking Northwestern, but again, should USC need to do that against a team like Northwestern?
I didn't like that, Mark. I did, because I felt the same way. Why do we have to pretend, like we're not trying to go for it? How come we can't just line up and go out there and do that? With that said, we got it done. He completed it. It looked great. It looked like they've been practicing it. It was strategic. They knew what they were doing with the quarterback switch. They had Tanook out there who, strong-handed young receiver. It looked good. It did. But yeah,
it was a great throw. I mean,
yeah. And again, kudos to our coaching staff. Obviously, this is something that they scouted, that they saw on film, that they thought was available, and something they were working on. They did it flawlessly. You know what I mean? Now, we would consider that to be a trick play, and also, we're talking about Lincoln being cute. That was my first thought. Here we go, Lincoln being cute again. But listen, he called the play that he felt would be effective. He called the right play. It was effective. It looked great. Kudos to those guys. I think that we were big enough and good enough to get that first time without that. But that could also be my ego. This is the chess match, Mark. It's a chess match. Those guys get paid too. They do, and those guys are going to make plays too. So I think our special teams, led by our kicker, has been pretty good all year. I think we're still that close to a block and a punt. I think. But yeah, it surprised me. I thought it was strategic how they brought the quarterback in, and I'm happy he converted, and we were able to go out there and score.
And, just to wrap up the segment, what they actually did is they actually had to make an official roster update where they changed Sam Heward's number from 7 to 80. It wasn't like he just put the jersey on because there was another guy wearing the same number on the field at the same time. This was an actual roster adjustment. And Coach Riley kind of addresses as, hey, we did this 3 weeks ago.
Playing chess.
Playing chess. Nobody noticed.
Yeah, playing chess. So that's, kudos to Lincoln, man. Again, kudos to Lincoln and his staff, because this is a game that we needed. That was a play that, that obviously contributed toward our win. Again, I don't love the trick plays when they don't work, but when they work, man, they look good, right?
Like I said, my only thought was let's save that type of stuff for, I don't know.
Nah, Mark. We have nothing to save. We have nothing to save. Right now, we need all hands on deck, 2 feet in. Everyone matters. We got 3 left, baby. We got 3 left until the big thing happens. So,
I think we lost you.
Can you hear me?
There you go.
Okay.
Back. All right, we got 2 more segments to go. Next segment, you and I, we're going to talk a little bit about the defensive side of the ball, and then we're going to wrap up the show with the coaching, talk about, halftime adjustments that were made, what we saw, what we liked, things were like, maybe we should, scrap that. That's coming up next. So we're in the weekend right now. I've got the Indiana-Penn State game on TV to my right. I'm not sure how you're looking at it from your screen, which means it's time to look back at this week's MVP on who delivered, powered by DoorDash. So just like you can save every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks delivering your food, and they're going to save you money every time you order, these are the players that delivered when it mattered most. Let's talk about Jaden Mayaba, quarterback. Let's talk about Jacoby Lane at wide receiver. Let's talk about Makai Lemon at wide receiver. Let's talk about King Miller at running back. Those dudes got the job done every time the opportunity came to them, whether it's Jacoby Lane making those one-handed Velcro catches in the end zone, whether it's Makai Lemon catching the pass and then getting a whole bunch of yak after contact. Those guys delivered big time Friday night in their win against Northwestern. So just like DoorDash delivers your Saturdays, with DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. So order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms are going to apply, and this promo period runs through November 18th. Once again, thank you for making Locked On USC your first listen of the day, and thank you again for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network in the country. Without you, we don't make this happen. Marvin, what changed in the second half defensively against Northwestern? In the first half, they were running, they were gashing us. Well, you can summarize your answer to this. Why is the D-line and the linebacker play still so inconsistent in the 9th game of the season?
Okay. So, listen, when you say inconsistent, like I said in the last segment, the other team is going to make plays. They are. The other team is going to make plays. No one predicted this to be a shutout win for USC. And at the end of the day, and you forget, Northwestern had one of the better O-lines, in the conference. All right. Sure. You heard, RG3 saying that the left side of that line may be one of the best left sides in the country. So they have guys too. They got transfer portal guys too. They getting paid too. They got NIL too. They're going to make plays, and we can't freak out when they do. The thing about it for us is what we've seen consistently, which has hurt us and isn't great, is the run. It's the run that we consistently cannot stop, particularly in the middle, guys being out of assignment. In regards to what changed, I was watching Kamari Ramsey's post-game interview, and they asked him the exact same question. Maybe you, Mark, I don't know who asked the question, but the reporter had asked, what changed schematically? What did you guys do at halftime, your adjustments? And he said it wasn't so much that we changed anything. We just had to have a talk, and just hunker down, and everybody be on the same page, everybody calm down. And Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it's like that. You don't want to hear that, but sometimes you forget these are kids. It's emotion. They feel the pressure. They listen to us on these shows, Mark. You know what I'm saying? They know what it is. For a lot of these kids, it's their last, silver. It's their last year in college football. So, these are young men. They need to be motivated constantly as part of the process, I think, as part of what coaches do, keep your guys motivated. But I don't think it was a schematic change that we saw. I think it was just a continued effort, new effort, better effort, more focus. And that happens after, you play the first half, you calm down, you got a feel for who the other team is. You got a feel for how they're going to play. You get a feel for the physicality. You get a feel for the man in front of you. And that builds confidence. And they took that, went back into the locker room at halftime, regrouped, and just came out playing. But they definitely looked better in the second half. Just more stout. I thought they looked stronger. I felt a lot of it was our offense, but our team looked better in the second half, which I like, because you want us, as the game goes on, again, since we have the better caliber athletes, as the game goes on, that should benefit us. You know what I mean? The totality of all those athletes, that all-star coaching staff versus what they have on the other side, as the game goes on, that always favors us. So we just saw the better team look better as the game went on. That's really what we saw, and that's what I expected to see. It didn't shock me to see Northwestern go out there and score, the first two possessions. That's not shocking. That happens a lot in football. Remember, the Oklahoma game years ago. The teams, when they're scripting it, and you don't know, what new nuances they're going to do. They're coming off of a bye as well. People forget that. That's relevant. That's what's coming off of a bye. So, they maybe they surprised us a little bit with some of their blocking schemes, whatever it may be, caught us off guard. But whatever it was, we were able to buckle up and get going in the second half.
Yeah, I think the only thing that still concerned me a little bit, and I think the only adjustment that maybe I really noticed big time in the second half was they were creeping up closer to the line of scrimmage. They had 7 in the box a lot of times last night.
Yeah.
But when you have 7 in the box, you shouldn't be getting chunked for 10 yards of pop on occasion. Yeah. And that was happening. So again, that's where I come back to the inconsistency. And they looked so good on the road against Nebraska with their run blitzes, and it just seemed to get lost in the wash a little bit.
Listen, at the end of the day, I'm not saying that they beat Alabama 5 times. They came to the Coliseum with 5 wins. They're 5 wins right now. Again, they legitimately have one of the better O-lines in the conference. Absolutely. And their running back was okay. And, he had a somewhat productive day, but I wouldn't nothing to write home about. Our defense, they did okay based on who they are. We have to be honest about what we have and who we have, and that's just what it is. We can make plays on defense. We can make stops on defense, and we also can get gashed on defense. That's the reality of it. Northwestern is a good running team. They are. I'm not saying that they're an elite running team, but they're a good running team when you look at that O-line and their running back.
What did you think of the secondary, especially at cornerback play? Carlos Nicholson was solid. I thought Marcellus Williams played a really strong game. And then when Braylon Conley had to come in, really good on run support. He just had that one. He looked like he lost his footing when he went down, and the guy caught the ball deep. Yeah.
What I love about all 3 of those guys you mentioned, those guys are playing physical and with confidence. That's what they're playing with swag out there. I see a tremendous difference in all 3 of them, especially Williams and Nicholson. I see a difference in them now versus earlier in the season, and I love it. You want your corners, because you got to be a special kind of man to play corner. You got to be one of those type of dudes, because it's just you back there. It's just you. You look back, all you see is the end zone. You know what I mean? You're out on that island. So I'm happy to see those guys playing with confidence. I had posted this week on my Facebook that we need to focus on just stopping the run and lean on our corners, because they've been playing pretty good the last couple of games. So I was happy to see in this game that play out exactly like that. I think Belk, Danton, they're coaching these guys up. That's what we see. That's what you and I have been talking about last couple of shows. We've been asking ourselves, are these guys getting coached up? Is our all-star coaching staff doing the job? They are, and you see it, and you see it in the players. So our guys are evolving, guys. Our program is moving the way it should. At this point, obviously, we're not happy with these losses that we have, but things are happening the way they should. And I'm optimistic. I'm objectively optimistic about what I'm looking at, and I feel very good going into this next three game stretch.
Going to be a tough 3-game stretch. We've got Iowa, we've got Oregon.
It's the Big Ten, baby. It's the Big Ten, and you playing for a national championship, conference championship. It's supposed to be tough. Everybody ain't undefeated, y'all. Everybody is undefeated, but we're still in contention. We're still there. So, and late in the season, we're playing good football. We're getting better. That win against Nebraska, the more I think about it, that was a tough win for us, man. Just the adversity and everything we went through. Jaden not playing that great. And then how about Jaden coming back this game, with a great bounce back game, great effort. Our guys are good. They're good. They're getting coached up. I see them getting better. I think we just don't have a certain caliber defensively in the middle, but but our guys are playing hard though. What I'm saying? They're playing hard, and I can see the coaches are absolutely coaching these guys up.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I agree with you 100% on that. All right, one more segment to go. We're going to talk about some of the adjustments we saw, and I asked Coach Riley, what his thoughts on the potentiality of him leaving USC after the season. There was a hand grenade thrown late in the week, and I asked him about that after the game. That's coming. Yeah. With when the opening whistle blows on a new repair around the house, get your crew working forward with Supply House. Order today, and you will see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. With over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items to choose from, including from the most trusted brands in the business, you're going to get real-time inventory from Supply House, and you're going to get honest lead times that are going to keep you from punting your projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side. If you need parts delivered fast for a project, Supply House has next-day delivery, and that is a total game changer. Plus, with their Trademaster perks, like priority shipping and dedicated support, it's going to make the whole process that much smoother. So join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. All right, Marvin. So before I get into the coaching decisions and what you liked, what you didn't like, what you'd like to see him do a little bit different, after the game, I waited till the right time to kind of slide the question. It was right at near the end of the press conference. I said, Coach, did you have to spend any time this week, in the locker room talking with your team about, maybe a distraction that came up? I didn't want to mention it specifically, but he kind of gave me the coy look, like, what are you talking about, Mark? What you talking about, Willis? I was like, well, Josh Pate, he kind of pulled the grenade and launched it out there to keep an eye on Coach Riley after the season. They were talking about coaches that are on the move right now, all the different job openings. He wanted to kind of throw that out there in the ether that, hey, USC, Lincoln Riley might be leaving.
Yeah.
Well, I asked him, and he basically said, no, I'm where I want to be. You don't understand what I sacrificed to be here.
No, I heard you ask him that. I loved it, and I saw his response. Yeah, I wasn't worried about him. I'm not worried about him leaving. At the end of the day, there's so much money being thrown out there, but Lincoln Riley knows what he has, man. He's making a lot of money. He has tremendous support and resources from the AD. NIL is kicking. He has the coaches in here that he wants. He has everything he needed to secure the #1 recruiting class. He's getting in his top quarterbacks, weather, culture, lifestyle, shopping, every reason that you would love Southern California, LA, especially if you got money. He's in a job where, he's given everything he needs to be successful. So it's, to me, and then when you look at his initial press conference and the things he promised, it was kind of like LeBron James saying 3, 4, 5, 6, right? He's talking about the Mecca of college football, right? I watched that interview, or I watched that, 10 times over already. I was so excited when we got him. So now he has work to do. He has shown us a little bit of something in this time here. You know, we hired the quarterback whisperer, the quarterback guru, and what did he do? He produced the #1 draft pick, Heisman Trophy winning quarterback for us, which is a big deal. And that's a trophy and a piece of success that we should feel good about at USC, because at USC the Heismans matter, okay, especially when you have more than anybody else. But no, Lincoln Riley is a Trojan.
I'll tell you what I have noticed, and maybe you've noticed it as well, or maybe you'll disagree. Ever since Jaden was asked, how come you're not running the ball more? This happened after a practice a few weeks ago. His initial response was, well, I think I've actually been running the ball more than I have in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since then, these last few games, you're starting to see Jaden pick him up and put him down. What are your thoughts on him, carrying the ball more and not, necessarily?
I've been wondering ever since, I think it was his first game against UCLA when he had that crazy scramble touchdown pass. How come we're not running this? This kid is like 6'4". This kid is big and he's tough. This kid ain't no punk. You know what I'm saying? This is a tough kid. You know what I mean? So it is great to see this big body, quick, fast, tough, athletic quarterback keeping that ball on them option plays, on them quarterback keeps, because he's a load, man. He's a load. He's physical. You brought it up. You saw that fumble he caused. He laid the wood to that dude. You know what I'm saying?
His uncle Kaluka, who played linebacker for USC, Kaluka Mayaba, he would have been proud of the way that was textbook shoulder. I mean, he put it on the ball, and next thing you know, it's got going on the back of the end zone for a touchback.
Listen, I'm seeing his whole demeanor change. I love his interviews now. I love his interviews. He looks so focused and so ready just to play football. But no, man, Jaden Maava, kudos to him again just for being mentally tough, bouncing back from a game that wasn't great for him a couple weeks, 2 weeks ago, and just playing good ball, coming out the gate, playing good ball, making a mistake and still being on it, making plays. I like this kid, man. He's really somebody who's growing on me. I hope he sticks around because his ceiling is high. And now that we've incorporated that run game of his into our offense, that makes it so much harder for those defenses, so much harder to jump on the running back, when that option play. So, I'm happy to see Lincoln, growing our offense like that and using this kid's legs, because it's a difference maker for us.
Was there anything you maybe anticipated or expected to see that you didn't see in this game?
I'm going to be honest with you. At this point in the season, where we are and what's at stake, all I care about are the wins. How we win matters. Not, how we win matters, but getting the wins is what I want. And, we were 14.5-point favorites at home, which, for me, it sounds about right. That's what it should be. But those lines mean nothing because you don't play the game on paper. And Northwestern was motivated to come out here and get a win. So I'm happy that we won the game against a team that is respected. I'm happy that we had success against a team that is able to run the ball. And I'm happy that we separated and covered, not so much from a betting standpoint, but you thought we were 14.5 points better than them. Well, we were 21 points better than them. You know what I'm saying? So, and we still didn't play a perfect game. There were still opportunities there for us to do better. So, not so much surprise. That's not where I'm at. We're already in the playoffs. Right now, we are in playoff mode. It's win or go home for us.
Right. Absolutely.
If we don't win out, we're not going to that field of 12. So we're already in playoff mode. Every game is a must win, and I'm happy that we won that playoff game against Northwestern. That's really my attitude.
It's mine as well. And what's going to be interesting is to watch how the Trojan family, the fans, where they're, and I hate to use the word expectations, just because when you don't get something, you tend to be let down more than if you didn't expect anything at all. Nevertheless, once USC gets that 8th win, all of a sudden now you can taste it. You can say, all right, you know what? We can get up there into Eugene, Oregon, and get that win. Man, there's only one thing stopping us from getting the playoffs. And it's that school out west that I like to call the sow, that pig, that school out west we call the UCLA Bruins.
Yeah.
A lot of fans are trying to temper their emotions, saying, "Oh, you know what? We're a 9-win team. Let's be happy with 9-3 this year." Like they're willing to accept losing on the road to Oregon. I can't wrap my head around that. That's not who I am. I anticipate Team USC being able to compete and win every game. So it's going to be interesting to see how everybody starts handling the pressure as we get closer and closer. Right now, USC 7-2. They got a chance to go 8-2 next week. They're going to take on Iowa, who's going to be taking on Oregon later today. As I said, I'm watching the Indiana-Penn State game right now. We'll see how that turns out. Like you said, Mark, at the beginning of the show, there's a lot of football left to play, even though there's only 3 games left.
Absolutely, man. And for USC, everything's in front of us. Lincoln, he's after the Illinois game, after Notre Dame, I think he puts a little sugar on stuff too much sometimes. But he's right about one thing. They put themselves in a great position to be relevant, in a great position, to play for it all. And that's true. It is true. That's what we've seen. They're winning games, they're finishing games, and they're doing it in dramatic fashion with the scoring, with the defense. It's good to see. We got a couple sacks yesterday. I wish we had more. But our guys are getting coached up. I'm happy to see that. And I think that Rob Ryan, someone who I've been thinking about him a lot. I think he's out there earning his paycheck, man. I think he's doing the best he can with what he has. I believe that.
The one thing a coaching staff can accept is making mistakes, as long as you're giving 100% effort.
That's it. Ball to the wall.
And that's one thing you can say about this team. They play hard 100% of the time, and they play hard for their coaching staff. So you really can't ask for anything more than that, other than go make a play, get the job done. So as long as I see this team playing hard, giving effort, I'm going to be critical. I'm going to point out what I like, what I don't like, but I'm never, ever, ever going to criticize somebody for doing their best. And that's one thing you have to kind of, tip your hat to Coach Riley. Sometimes people say, he's soft. He doesn't know how to build a culture. He knows how to build a team in a locker room that's willing to play hard for him.
Right.
And that's the first step. So we'll see.
Right.
We'll see. Marvin, we're at the end of the show again already. Can you believe it? But that doesn't mean we're done with you for the rest of the week. You will be back. We'll talk more. I'm going to be at the Galen Center Sunday. USC is taking on Manhattan in men's basketball. So next episode, one of these next upcoming episodes, we'll be talking a little bit of hoops. But when Marvin comes back, we're going to be talking more about USC football as well. So until then, everyone, you know what to do.